Today, you're tuning into Unstoppable FM, where mindset, identity, and performance collide. In this episode, I'm joined by Martin Brady, a former Army sniper, high performance coach, and keynote speaker. After 18 years in the Defence Forces, Martin now helps people rewire their thinking, break old identities, and step into who they're truly capable of becoming. We talk about military mindset, subconscious programming, life after the army, and what it really takes to become unstoppable. This episode is brought to you by Top Drawer Talent, the supply chain procurement recruitment specialist, Nesta Storage, Dublin's #1 self-storage provider, and IT.ie, keeping businesses secure and connected with managed IT and cybersecurity solutions. Let's get into it. Here we go. How's life after the army? Do you miss it now, or?
Yeah, you know what? The army was very good to me. I served over 17 and a half years in the army. I worked in a leadership role from a very, very young age. So the army was the place that really helped me to develop and hone my skills. But more so, the army is, I always say it to people, the army is like a family outside of your family. The army is kind of place, it's very hard to describe to someone who hasn't experienced it, because if your car breaks down, when you're in the army, someone in the army can fix it. If your boiler breaks down, someone in the army can fix it. So sometimes when you step away from the army, it's like you're kind of like disconnected from that family. So there's definitely a lot you miss about it, but at the same time, there's been a lot of change that we've really kind of embraced, so we're definitely enjoying this phase of our life,
Why did you decide to leave after 17 and a half years? Why didn't you wait to 21 years?
I was at that stage. It was after I came back from Lebanon in 2014. And I was studying for a degree in strength and conditioning at the time. So I was getting into that world where I was doing a lot of strength and conditioning with teams. I worked with a local team and we got them to the final of the Intermediate Cup in the Viva Stadium. Then I worked with Cove Ramblers. We helped them get to the final of the EA Sports Cup. So I was building a bit of reputation in the strength and conditioning world and working with athletes. And I built a business around that, in line with what I was doing in the army. But I was a platoon sergeant in the army. I was very busy. I was looking after recruits, which is very, very, very energy demanding. Yeah. And I suppose it was at that stage where I had to decide where do I really want to focus my energy and focus my attention, and my business was growing at a rapid pace. So it's at that stage I just knew that there was more in me. I was really being pulled towards growth. I was really being pulled towards impact, contribution. I suppose at that stage in the army, I was feeling maybe a little bit stagnant, and maybe that there's something else that I needed to kind of experience in life. So that's where I stepped away, and then the business has just evolved into the mental performance company that we have today,
What's the name of your company at the moment?
Built to Lead.
Built to Lead.
Yeah.
What are you doing there?
So primarily, there's myself and my wife, Roseanne. She's a rapid transformational therapist. Okay. And we help people to strip back the kind of mental and emotional patterns that are holding them back so that they can scale their performance and scale their business. So we work with business owners. We've helped people to start with an idea and scale a business to 6-7 figures. We've helped people to go from 6 to 7. We've worked with hundreds of business owners over the years and just helped them to really multiply their own personal performance.
Okay. So who is your target market? Who are you trying to get? Is it the business owner? Is it the athlete? Or is it just the everyday Joe Soap?
80% of our clients are business owners.
Okay.
20% of our clients are people that work in leadership roles.
Okay.
We have a lot of demand within the corporate world as well.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because so many of the challenges that a business owner would have, a corporate leader would have as well.
Yeah.
Because, if you think of, a lot of people who excel in the corporate world, they put themselves under a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Okay. As a result of putting themselves under a lot of pressure, they succeed.
Okay.
But their mind straight away associates pressure with success. So they feel like, okay, I've achieved this, but now I feel that I'm putting myself under pressure. I feel anxious. I feel overwhelmed. I feel that I'm living in this state of fear all the time. It's very, very similar to a business owner. So we help them to kind of let go of that so that they can expand and excel in their role. It's the same as athletes. Like we spoke off air a while ago about athletes that we've worked with, and it comes back to the same fundamental principles of the human psyche, because there's certain fears that people have. They're ingrained in the human psyche. A fear of not being good enough, a fear of being different, or fear of rejection. A fear of, okay, if I fail this, everyone's going to think that I'm a total failure, and I'm going to think that I'm a total failure, and I don't want that to happen. So people just put themselves under bundles of pressure, okay? And then their mind starts to work against them, and that communicates the message to their body, and people feel they've got this nervous system that works against them, and a mind that they just can't seem to escape,
Okay. And do you find that's what it is? It's just fear that holds people back, or are there other things that hold them back, like traumas or different things?
There's a number of things that hold people back, right? I use a kind of an analogy or an acronym called PRIMAL, so pressure.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason pressure can hold people back is because people get to a certain stage where they could have achieved something by putting themselves under pressure. So for example, both of us would agree we probably started our businesses, put ourselves under a huge amount of pressure because we have to make it work. So your mind straight away associates pressure with success. Then you get to a point where you say, well, if I want to keep growing, I have to put myself under more pressure. My nervous system can't hold that. So that can hold people back. Rejection. You know, a lot of people, you know, you speak to most business owners, you ask them simple things. Do you make enough offers each year? No. Do you charge your worth? No. Why? Because they have a fear of rejection. If I increase my prices, people will leave. If I increase my prices, people will say you're too expensive. So they have fear of stepping into that domain, so it holds them back. The biggest one is identity, who people believe themselves to be. I'm not that type of person, I'm not like that, I'm not like those people, so it'll stop them from taking action, you know. But there's a whole cascade of things that can hold people back. People think, oh, it's just fear, but it's not. You know, everyone has fear. If fear was the one thing that held everyone back, nobody would be successful, nobody would be taking actions, everyone would just be so hooked on certainty, because there's that need for certainty, and safety is what fundamentally keeps people stuck in their comfort zone, you know.
Is there also like a fear, like let's say you're moving an entrepreneur from like a 6-figure to a 7-figure, like you want to increase revenue from 6 to 7 figures. Is there like a fear of like letting go for the entrepreneur as well, that you kind of work with them? Like, because in my business, right, I'm trying to get to a certain stage, but I also have this fear like where I'm in the weeds and I'm like afraid to let go of certain parts, like, or afraid to give control to someone else. Like, are they things that you work through with people as well?
Absolutely. What part of you is afraid of letting go?
I'd be afraid that because they're so small, right, and the client relationships really matter to us, that if one of our staff maybe messed up one of those client relationships, it could have a massive financial impact on the business. So
the biggest fear of someone going from 6 figures to 7 figures is the client relationship. Okay, it's okay, I'm the face of the business, I'm the person that people have bought into, so I need to manage all of the relationships. So their fear of delegating that out. Okay, so someone like, if you want to go from 6 figures to 7 figures, and you know, I'm just speaking with the people that we've worked with, there's identity shifts that they have to make. Number one is they can't be in delivery all the time. So whether they're 80% in delivery, they might need to scale that back to 40%. They may need to scale that back to 30%. Okay. Number two, they can't be on site all the time. So you have someone who wants to have a 7-figure business, and let's say it's in security or, you know, financial advisory or coaching. They can't be on site all of the time. They need to be able to delegate those things out. And they're big fears that a lot of business owners would have. And so one of the things that can help people to overcome those fears without even like the RTT and the performance work with us is it's clarity. Okay, why do you want to get the business to that place in the first place? And what does life look like if you don't? And it's been really, really clear on that, because you'll have a lot of people that they want a lifestyle business. It's like, look, I want to continue to do this. I love what I'm doing. And you have other people, they want to scale, they want to have that team. But obviously there comes more pressures and stresses with managing people, you know?
Yeah, it gets harder, definitely. All right, let's swing it all the way back, right? So the army, why did you decide to join the army in the first place? Like,
my brother was in the army. My dad was in the army. So it was ingrained in our family. And in school, I had this belief that I'm not academic. I had this belief that I can't take it. I was sitting in school and I look at other people and the teacher would be saying something, they're writing stuff down, and I'm like, how are they actually taking this information in? So I had this belief that I can't learn, I can't study. So college was off for me. I was boxing at a high level. So I was a high performance boxer underage. I boxed with people like, you know, Carl Frampton, Andy Lee. So I would have been on the Irish team with a lot of them as a juvenile, a junior. But that was at a stage where Irish boxing was going through a huge transition. A lot of money was being invested in it. And they were positioning people for the Beijing Olympics, which would have been 2008. And for me, my name wasn't on that list. Okay, so I was at a stage where I'm like, okay, I don't seem to really fit in here, so I need to start looking at career prospects. And army, I'll be honest, it seemed like a natural progression for me, because A, I don't see myself as academic, and B, I don't feel that I'm now going to have the boxing career that I thought I would have. So I applied for the army 2 weeks before my 17th birthday. And I joined 2 weeks after my 17th birthday.
it's pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, very quick. So I had the interview, the fitness test, and I was in recruit training on the 17th of November 2003. Yeah.
Jeez, okay. It's mad. Everyone always remembers their date. Mine was like the 28th of January 2008.
Yeah.
But what did you make it through school? Like, did you get all the way through to the leaving cert?
No, I done my junior cert.
Okay.
And I went into transition year. I was a couple of weeks in transition year.
Yeah.
I was there long enough to get a sports award off the school.
Right.
And that was my last day in school.
Right.
Right. And I still remember what the school principal said about me. I actually read it in my book. But that was my last day in school. And, you know, I joined the army then 2 weeks after my 70th birthday. And I never looked back. You know, the army was such a fantastic career. Like, the things I got to experience. Like, I celebrated my 18th birthday in Liberia. You know, I was in Liberia in 2004. It was just after, so Liberia just come out of 2 civil wars.
Yeah.
And Charles Taylor, he just got into hiding. So, like, there was a lot of militias and stuff still, you know, you had the Lords, and all of these militia forces were still on the loose and running riot, and the country was in a mess, you know, politically, economically, obviously the infrastructure. Like, Liberia was an absolute mess, but at the same time, such a beautiful country, incredible people. And that was an experience that really, really shaped me as a person. That's an experience money can't buy. Yeah. You know, especially at that age.
Yeah, geez, they're quite young, right?
Yeah.
Like, geez, that.
I was a baby. Like, the photos, I look like, you know, my son is 15 years old now. Yeah. And he's a boxer, so, you know, you'd be familiar with his weight. Yeah. And like, I was in Liberia, and I was the same weight as he is at 15 years old, because I was very skinny, very underweight. Up until maybe 21, that's when I started to kind of bulk up a little bit. But up until that stage, I was just a skinny little guy, you know.
Yeah, I was pretty much the same when I was younger. I think I was like 56 kilos in training at 17.
Yeah.
But in terms of like your first day, do you remember your first day going into the army? What was it like?
My first day, number one, I was late.
Oh God, Jesus.
Right, my brother was bringing me.
Yeah.
Okay, and we were late because we got stuck in traffic.
Oh, okay.
So it was at that stage the schools were just coming back, so he was used to the summer commute, where there's no traffic. Oh. So in case we left a little bit too late, my platoon sergeant, okay, Eugene Power, he had the old Monopoly moustache. Oh. Okay, and I remember getting in the front gate, and I was a mess, you know. I was terrified because I knew straight away, like, Jesus, being late. Because I even remember being late for school. Yeah. Even that used to put the fear of God in me. I always had this thing around timekeeping, you know, still to this day. Yeah. And the first thing he said to me, right, I went in and I had a Nike jacket, a white Nike jacket, and I wore a plain white t-shirt underneath it. And for my 17th birthday, my mum bought me a necklace with boxing gloves hanging off it. Okay, you weren't a boxer back in 2003 unless you had a thick necklace with boxing gloves hanging off it. And the first thing he said, I walked up, okay, and there's this lady, she introduced me, she goes, this is the platoon sergeant, Sergeant Power, and the first thing he said to me is, get the drive-by gear off you. So the chin off, and a hat in my head actually, he says, get the drive-by gear off you. Yeah, so yeah, I'll never forget that.
Did you get away with being late, or were you you thought you were late?
No, I got actually hammered for the week. I didn't see the front gate for about 6 weeks after that. Okay. So yeah, it was something I never let down. Yeah. But it's like that in the army, isn't it? You know, the first few weeks they're looking for things like that, especially back in those days. They're looking for things that they can really kind of pin on you, you know. A guy could have a nickname after 3 minutes in the army, and you've got a nickname, you know. So that's the way the army is, like, and it's good because they always say leave your feelings at the gate, but it's so true, you know. I was queuing up to get my equipment, your kit on the first day, and we were standing up against the wall, and all the instructors were coming down, and who are you? Where are you from? You know, just kind of getting to know people. One of the guys, he looked at me, and the first thing he said is, geez, does your mother know you're here? You know, because I was so small and skinny. But as things transpired, when I stepped away from the army, he was one of the first people I coached. The guy that said that, does your mother know you're here? He set up a CrossFit gym. Right? And he was one of the first people that I actually coached. He came to me then for advice and help. So,
it's smart full circle, the student becomes the master.
Yeah.
But I suppose how did you feel then? Like your first few weeks in training, like did you like it? Did you not like it? Or
the first probably 3 or 4 weeks, I remember actually ringing my mum and I said I'm probably going to leave. To be honest, and there was a number of reasons, right? Number one, like I stuck out like a sore thumb. I was the youngest in the platoon, naturally, because it was 2 weeks after my 17th birthday. I was extremely skinny and underweight, so I was 53 kg was my weight whenever I did fitness tests for the army, and the uniform was absolutely hanging off me. So the smallest waist I had was a 32. Yeah. I was 28. Okay, so I mean, I look like something like Dad's army. Yeah. They give you this beret, obviously you shape onto your head for listeners that might not be familiar with a beret. And the same thing, like it was like the beret was coming down over my ears. I felt like the guy out of Major Payne. ever see The Kid in Major Pain? Okay? And I watched that film about 100 times before I joined the army. And I'm like, I'm the kid in Major Pain. So I remember the uniform was swinging off me, and I didn't even feel like the first cousin of a soldier. But secondly, I went into the army with this illusion that I was just going to be boxing for the army, you know, because my coach at the time, there was a guy called Michael Kelly from Dundalk. I'll never forget it. He was a high-level boxer, but he boxed for the army. And my coach was speaking to him a few weeks before, and he said, I train full-time. He said, the army pay me to train. He goes, I train full-time like a professional athlete. So I was convinced that I'm going to go into the army and they're going to find out that I'm a high-level boxer, and within weeks I'll just be sent down to the gym to train. That wasn't the case. It doesn't work like that, you know.
Okay. Yeah. How, like, cause you're so light, did you struggle like with the weight and the packs, or did they build you up and that you're kind of okay, you're able to kind of get through it?
Yeah, no, they built me up, and I was very lucky. I had like good instructors in there, like who we were very lucky at the time, because all of the instructors I had were big into their fitness. You had Alan O'Brien from Hell Week.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, he was my section commander.
Jesus.
He was training for the Army Rangering at that stage.
Right. Yeah.
So straight away you had inspiration. Okay. He was God to us.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like because this guy's going for the Rangering, you know, and you knew just by his mentality that he was gonna make it. So he was like a god to us in recruit training. You know, what he said, we believed. But you had that inspiration. So when you looked at his standards, you know, if we were going out the road with a backpack, his was heavier. Right. So you had that. And for me, I always had that as a boxer. I had that drive, I had that ambition. I hated letting people down. They could have given me a house to put on my back. I wouldn't care, I would have carried it. We did a route march, it was 16 miles, and I had one guy up the front, Dave Williams, his name. This guy now was like a giraffe, right? His legs now were probably 6 foot alone. And great guy. But the pace that he set for that route march was blistering. He had a flag, you had to stay with that flag. And you dropped back a certain amount of times, you were off, and there was a truck behind you. It became one of the principles in my program, don't get on the truck, I call it. But a lot of people would just quit and give up and get on the truck. And I remember there was 6 of us finished that route march out of the full platoon. And one of them was Gemma O'Connor. She's an all-star camogie player for Cork. She's one of the most all-stars out of any camogie player. She played in Croke Park more times than I've had Sunday dinners. And she was the very same. 2 of us were like that, but we both finished our route march and we took our socks off. All right, I'm not joking you, the skin came with it. The whole soles of my feet was like 3rd-degree burns. But I wouldn't let myself down. And I wouldn't let the other people down around. But we were very, very lucky to have good instructors that led by example and were able to bring that out of you, you know.
That's really good. Did you have the old school boots you had to bowl every night?
Yeah.
What do you think of the lads not having the bull boots now?
Is that the case? No, I wasn't aware of that, because the last,
those nice cushy brown boots.
The last platoon I was in, actually you're right, I see, because my brother's still in the army, so I see the brown boots, but I'm not familiar with the recruit training structure at the minute, because obviously it probably has changed a lot, because the last recruit platoon that I trained was in 2018. Okay. You know, so I was a platoon sergeant for a recruit platoon then, so, but yeah, the bull in the boots was, it's time consuming, and that was the thing. Like, it was heartbreaking, it was time consuming, but it's good when you actually look back what it does teach someone, because you bull your boots, you go out, they're getting kicked and scraped and all that day, and then you have to do it all again tonight. So it's like you put in this work and it's breaking down. You put in this work, you break down. I think that really stands to me today as a business owner. Because you see a lot of people that might put time and effort into something, then it doesn't go their way and they feel all disheartened. They're sure to tell you so the pram. Whereas the small things like that, we're like, okay, I have to put time and effort into this, and tonight I have to do it all again, and do it all again, and do it all again. And it's a really, really good mentality to have in any career or any business, you know.
Yeah. Do you think they should bring it back, that they have to do it, or?
Absolutely. Yeah. I seen how the recruit training kind of evolved a little bit over the years. Yeah. And I think the further they moved away from like the structure around and the discipline around our recruit training back in 2003, I think the further they moved away from that, okay, the more ease it gave people, okay? And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's important to make life comfortable for people. It's important to do what's necessary and not cross the line. Yeah. But at the same time, it's extremely important to build robustness and resilience and discipline into people, not just for the army. You're not preparing them for the army, you're preparing people for life. Yeah. Because when I became a platoon sergeant, okay, my outlook and my goal was, I'm not just preparing someone here to get through recruit training, I'm preparing them for life. Yeah. And like even the last group platoon that I trained, you know, I look back and I think those guys were so lucky because I was doing so much of what I'm doing now.
Yeah,
You know,
for free,
I'd spent 4,997 quid on a Tony Robbins course.
Yeah.
Whenever I was training recruits in the army, so those guys are learning all of this stuff from me. Okay, I'm teaching them so much of what I'm learning in little conversations during the day, in some of the lectures that I was given. But one of the guys went on and he joined the Army Rangering. I brought him down to speak at one of our events a couple of years ago, and he said, this is the speech from my wedding. He brought the speech from his wedding, and he said he mentioned 3 people in the wedding that he really looked up to, and I was one of those people, you know. But like I was genuinely so proud whenever I heard that because of the impact that you had on him. But that's down to the training that we were able to put them through, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because that's what, do you know what gets me all the time? Because I was telling you I was paid for a personal development course, like a couple of thousand or whatever. But do you know that saying, CV's paid for this shit? That always gets me when I'm handing over money for something like that. I was like, fuck, I should have listened a bit harder. So it's crazy. But when you came out training then that time, like, was the army what you expected it to be?
When I came out of training, my feet didn't hit the ground when I was on the plane to Liberia.
Okay, so
So,
you were straight deployed straight away?
The momentum in my career was incredible.
Okay.
Everything just happened one after the other, you know, and I was very lucky. Timing is everything in any career. I genuinely believe that. Timing is lucky in any career. And I came out of training, and within 2 weeks, we had 2 weeks off, and within 2 weeks, I was on a young entry mortar course because I was going over to Liberia in that position.
Yeah.
So we did the mortar course, we went straight on to preparation for Liberia. So that was a full battle inoculation training in the Wicklow Mountains for like 8 to 10 weeks. And then we're on a plane in November 2004. I joined in November 2003. November 2004, I'm living in a camp in Monrovia in Liberia. I came back from there, right? Came back from Liberia, had my 4 weeks off. And my company sergeant at the time, he said, look, there's a preliminary course for the NCO course. He said, no, you have to have 3 weapons courses and 1 overseas trip on to get the NCO's course. You're not going to get the course, but it'd be good preparation for you to go and do the prelims because they're going to be very intense, okay? He goes, and look, you're fit, you're energetic, you've a good bit of drive. They wanted to make up the numbers for the course when I look back, okay? But what happened was whenever we did the prelim course, right, there was a sergeant called John Keller who ran him. Okay. Now this guy was, you know, he knew how to put the boot in, but he knew how to get the best out of people as well. But he ran a very intense course, very fair, but very, very, very intense course. And when he ran that course, right, let's say there was 8 places on the NCO's course, only 5 people finished the prelims. So I naturally got the NCO's course then. So I went from the prelims straight on to 9-month NCO's course. And from an NCO's course, 2 weeks after that, I was training my first recruit platoon. So within a space of 2 years, I'd gone through that process where now I'm working in a leadership role. You know, I was awarded best soldier on my NCO's course. So straight away, once you're given that award, the BTC, the training centre, they want to hold on to you. So you're training the next batch of recruits, you know.
Okay. How did you find that, like, moving pretty quick, like, throughout your career? Like, was that good for you? Like, did you enjoy it, or are you just taking it on your stride?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the momentum of it all. Yeah. But at the same time, I had these conflicting beliefs because a part of me was always like, I'm going to get back into the boxing. I'm going to get back into the boxing. And then I got a little bit kind of like really, not so much obsessed, but I definitely became a big believer in the army. Okay. You know, where I wanted to be the best soldier as well. I wanted to be the best boxer, but I wanted to be the best soldier. So I come off my NCO's course, I was training recruits. I enjoyed training recruits, but then I was looking at sniper courses and stuff like this, and I was like, I want a piece of that. But then in the back of my head, it's like, I want to get back boxing. And I still have some regrets over that because I remember being in the NCO's mess in 2008, August 2008. And I sat there at lunchtime one day and I watched John Joe Joyce, Triple J, from Mullingar boxing in the Beijing Olympics. And I'd beaten him, you know, and I just sat there and I thought to myself, you know, it could have been me, you know. It could not have been me as well because it's not like he was just handed a trip to the Olympics. He had to go and he had to fight and he had to earn that. And, you know, looking back, that takes a lot of mental strength. But I'm honest with myself, and I mentioned that in my book. People say to me, do you think that you could have got to the Olympics, whatever? My answer is no, because I genuinely believe, I don't think I had the mental strength. And that's one of the reasons why we do it. I don't think I had the mental strength to cope with that level of pressure at the time. Okay, that's a different level of pressure entirely to being a recruit trained in the army. And the reason I say that is because even before a lot of my boxing fights, I had over 80 fights. I could count on one hand how many times I slept a full night the night before the fight. I'd be up all night, and at the time I didn't know it. I thought it was just excitement or nervous or whatever, but it was anxiety. I used to put myself under so much pressure, and it was just a fear of losing, you know. I'd get into the ring most times with no sleep, you know.
That's like what?
Yeah.
You have to hate to lose more than you love to win.
Yeah, and again, it's that, like, people would think, okay, that's a mental strength, but also it's a mental weakness because it's taken away from your physical performance and what your body can actually follow through and do for you, you know.
Yeah. And going all the way back then to your overseas trip the first time, like, was that like, were you living in tents on that trip? Yeah.
We were living in 6-man tents, 4-man tents and 6-man tents.
Was it heartbreaking, or were you happy? Like, was it okay? Or?
It was the best experience of my life.
Right. Okay.
Honestly, there's an Irish embassy now in Monrovia, and like I will bring my kids there to do some form of work experience or something like that.
Oh,
yeah, like, it's the best experience in my life. I loved every minute. No, the heat was searing.
Yeah.
Okay, the conditions were like so basic. You're living in a tent. You're very restricted in the showers and things like that you can have on a day-to-day basis.
30-second shower.
Yeah, 30-second showers. That is it. Like, you know, or you're hotbedding with a guy, like, in terms of the showers and stuff. You don't have air conditioning in your tents. You're constantly sweating.
Yeah.
You don't even realize it, but it's just like the whole environment is just bedded into your skin. You know, we got on, 'cause outside the gate, you'd have all these mingy men, and they'd be selling the bits and pieces. They'd be selling plaques, they'd be selling bottles of aftershave, you know. So back then, we'd all be buying a bottle of jupe or whatever. But when you're going home on your leave or at the end of the trip, you have a shower before you leave the camp. You know, you put on clean clothes because you wash your clothes, or you put on clean clothes. And we're spraying ourselves in jupe, you know, and we think we're going home now. We think we're amazing. And I remember we got on the plane, and the air hostess, she went through the whole plane. She had a bottle of Febreze. She must have come down the plane about 6 times throughout the journey home with a bottle of Febreze. But we didn't even realise it. And it's only even about a week later, like, you were showering 3 times a day whenever you came home, because I was still living with my mum. Yeah. And she was still saying it to me and my brother, because we both were on that trip together. She's like, there's a funny smell off your skin. Oh. You know, it was just like the whole environment it was just embedded into us, you know. But Liberia is, like, Africa is an amazing place. Yeah. Like, the infrastructure, like I said, is in ruins, but the people and the way it can shape you as a person, you know, when you see people, like, with the orphanages out there, you see the starvation, you see the impact that it has on them, but you see how much they value, like, real human needs. You know, they value connection and belonging with other people. They value happiness and simple things in life. It's an amazing place.
Yeah. Did that have a huge impact on you? Like, because you're so young, going out there, like, did it have, like, a huge impact on the rest of your life then, or?
Yeah, it had a massive impact. So I wouldn't use the term.
Yeah.
No, I use the term regular gratitude.
Yeah.
Okay, but back then I wouldn't use that term gratitude, you know. But onto that stage of life, you're always looking at what other people have, what you don't have, what someone else can do, what you can't do. Okay, it's not fair, this guy got to this, you didn't get this. Since that, I genuinely believe it reshaped me to look at possibility and opportunity more than lack.
Yeah.
Okay? And, like, I think the more of us that can look at opportunity and possibility over lack and what we don't have, the better place the world is going to be. And it's experiences like that that can really shape someone because you experience, like, number one, for us, we're living off the very bare minimum basics out there. But you see the people outside, we've certainty. Yeah. Okay, I'm in a camp, okay, I know that we're living in a tent, it's hot, it's humid and all the rest of it, but I still know that when I get up in the morning and when I walk down there into that tent, breakfast is there. Yeah. Okay, I know when I come back off patrol today, okay, once I'm safe, when I come back off patrol today, I know that there's going to be an amazing lunch that's put on by the chefs. There's an amazing dinner put on by the chefs. We have all that certainty, whereas you're operating in environments where people don't have that certainty. The same, you know, I went to Kosovo in 2009, and that's just a year after Kosovo became an independent nation, essentially. So there's still, tension is still very high there between, you know, the Albanians and the Serbians and stuff, you know. So, like, tensions are still very, very high out there. But you see that, like, people have no certainty even over their safety. Yeah. Whereas we have that to a certain degree. We're peacekeepers and we have that certainty, you know.
Yeah. What was your job out in Liberia? Like, what was the actual mission or can you say?
The mission out there was, it was a peacekeeping mission.
Yeah.
So UNMIL was about demobilising. Okay, so demobilising was, like I said, they'd just been through 2 civil wars.
Yeah.
So Charles Taylor, he had just gone into hiding at that stage, but you still had like a lot of people that would have been loyal to him. You had a lot of militia forces. Yeah. So you had they were called the Lords and things like that, okay? So you had a lot of them that were still active out there, they were still weaponised, and they could still cause destruction in the area. So the main concept of UNMIL, so you had, Sweden, you had the Irish army, you had the Nigerians, you had a lot of different, the Bangladeshis, you had a lot of different contingents out there. And the main function was to demobilise, okay, so to de-weaponise and demobilise a lot of these militias and then install peace and security again in Liberia, which they've done very well.
Yeah. Do you think like the job you done had an impact on the people that were there or in country? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Like it's only, people sometimes say about the army, sure do nothing, What do you do when you go overseas? Drive around in the car. People, it's very easy. It's like in business, so people look at a business owner and say, sure, I could do that. Go do it. They don't do it, right? But it's the same in the army. It's only whenever you're actually there, especially in a leadership role, you start to realise the impact that you really do have, because you're out and you're engaging with people and you're making people feel safe. And that's really, really, really important because, like I said, you're dealing with people where a lot of their basic human needs have been stripped away.
Yeah.
And if we look at what motivates people from basic safety right up to legacy, a lot of those people, they are not meeting those basic needs. Yeah. Okay? Like people that are in a country that's just been through a civil war, what's on their mind is not, keeping up with the Joneses or having a fancy bag or having a nice watch. Yeah. It's safety, roof over my head, food on the table, kids not dying of starvation, militia forces not coming in and, rummaging through our homes. That's what's important to them. Yeah. So whenever they see, armed forces are there to support them, and especially Irish people that are very welcoming, very engaging people with good personalities, that makes them feel so safe. The Irish are liked, like everywhere I've served. Yeah. Okay, the Irish are so well thought of.
Yeah, I found that as well. We were kind of well loved, but got a bit ropey in a few situations. But yeah, no, look, the Irish are loved all over the world, which is really good. But my fear would be that we probably lose that now with kind of things that are happening and like stepping away from like being a neutral country. Like I think we could we're at risk of probably losing that.
Yeah. Well, I think on a political level.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But on a human level, like the boots on the ground, I don't think the Irish would ever lose that. Because I think it's in terms of EU countries. Okay. You look at who can engage with people very well. Yeah. And you look at anything in life that becomes a success, it comes down to people humanising and having good personalities, and the Irish have that in abundance,
Yeah. Of all your overseas trips, how many overseas did you do in total?
4.
And which one was your favourite?
Liberia, yeah.
Liberia, the first one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The first one probably has the biggest impact, right?
It had the biggest impact. Like in Kosovo in 2009, I was a young leader at that stage, 24 years old, and riot control was a huge thing there. But I was the lead riot instructor. Okay, I was a corporal out there. Yeah. And what happened was, whenever we got out there, whenever they just looked at the CVs, I was young, enthusiastic, there was great momentum in my career. So I was picking up courses and qualifications, just picking them up everywhere. So I was a qualified riot instructor, I was a CBR instructor, I had instructor certifications coming out my backside. And riot control was huge at that stage in Kosovo. Okay, you were working with different multinationals as well. You were working with the Czechoslovakians, the Swedes, the Finns, the Danish. Okay, and you're amalgamating with a lot of them, and you're collaborating with a lot of them in terms of your skills, your drills, and your SOPs. Yeah. So the fact that I was the lead riot instructor out there was a lot of onus on me to evolve and develop because riot control was very new. I think it was 2008 where the first Irish soldiers went over to the British Army and learned riot control, and then they brought that back. So I was actually on the first ever riot control instructor's course. Okay. So we were taught like the basic...
Did you get to go to England or the UK?
No.
That was when the lads came back?
Yeah, I was on the first one whenever they came back and they taught it. So there was a contingent went over, and whenever they came back and taught it to us, I was on that first course. So the skills and drills were very, very, very new. Like this is stuff that hadn't been, filtered out into 2 to 3 star platoons, filtered out into NCO's courses. But when you're in a situation like that in Kosovo, establishing blocking positions, collaborating with mobile vehicles and armoured vehicles and stuff like that, it's all new drills that we were kind of like developing on the go. So it was brilliant from that context because it allowed me to really, really, really grow as a leader,
Were you called out many times over there in the Reich here, or?
Yeah, and numerous times in Kosovo. Like you'd always be on standby. Like there's obviously a readiness to move notification at every single stage in an environment like that, So
Like hear situations like where you're up against big crowds, or?
Yeah, we would have contained a lot of crowds and stuff out there, various situations and stuff, Yeah.
It's just nature of the
Yeah,
business, right?
yeah.
But how long did it take you then to get? So you finished on sergeant. How many years did it take you to get the sergeant's course?
So I actually did the sergeant's course in 2011. Okay. Now, when I did the sergeant's course in 2011, the Army was going through a big disbanding period where they were downsizing some of the units. So the unit I was in was the 4th Infantry Battalion.
Okay.
And
It's based down in Cork, is it?
yeah, that's down in Cork. So I was in the 4th Infantry Battalion at the time. I done the infantry platoon sergeant's course plus the all-arms sergeant's course. So there's 2 sergeant courses you had to do.
Yeah. Okay.
So I did the both roles. Then our infantry unit was disbanded. So I was transferred to artillery. So I wasn't qualified to get promoted in that unit. So I had to go and do the artillery sergeant's course.
Okay.
And then they ran the competition. By the time the competition came around, it was 2014. So I actually had the course done for over 3.5 years. My goal was to be one of the youngest sergeants in the Army.
Yeah.
Because I was one of the youngest corporals in the Army. But my goal was to be one of the youngest sergeants, and it was the disbanding that stopped that from happening. Then whenever we entered the competition, there was such a backlog of people. It was so competitive. There was 206 went for the interview process when I went for sergeant. And I finished 168 after the CV. And I remember being on the mess and everyone's like, well, look, you'll probably get it next year, and I'll probably finish here and this guy will probably finish there. But in my head, I was like, no, I'm getting promoted here, And the fellas thought it was screwballs because like 168. But in my head, I was like, I'm getting promoted. I genuinely believe I manifested that.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I was getting promoted. I hired outside, right, to get a skill with the interview process. And I was so sharp in that interview. Every time I went and I did a mock interview, I dressed exactly how you dress in the interview process. And I done a security detail in the Wicklow Mountains 2 weeks before my interview. And you've obviously no mobile phone or anything up there.
Yeah.
And I had beams and beams of notes taken on my answers. And I was visualising myself over and over again inside that interview. I visualised everything from how I walked in. And then guys that were doing the interview before me, I was questioning what they're asking. They say, look, at the end, they give you 3 minutes for anything you want to say. And at the end of it, because I knew from an experience perspective of overseas service, I ranked way down. Like I was competing against one guy who had 13 trips.
Yeah. Okay.
I had 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so straight on paper, this guy is not going to finish anywhere in the pecking order. Okay, but at the end of the interview, they say, "Is there anything you want to say?" And I highlighted 3 points. I said, "Okay, 206 people are going to come in here and are going to be interviewed, and at the end of that process, you're probably not going to remember a lot of people. I want you to remember me with one thing. Okay, I know the Army respects experience and overseas service." But people like me are the future in the Army. I said, I'm a young leader. Okay, I've been awarded the best overall soldier in the course. I've badged my sniper course. Okay, and what I want you to ask yourself is that if you had a son or daughter joining the Army in the morning, who would you want training your son or daughter? Because the primary role of a sergeant in the Army is to train recruits. Who do you want training your son or daughter? And that's the question I leave you with. And I walked out of that interview. I felt like Denzel Washington. I walked on and I was like, did I just say that? But I knew, even when I walked out, I knew full well. I says, they cannot overlook me. And I guarantee I could feel the energy in the room. I was like, they won't overlook me. And it was about 4 or 5 weeks. The interviews were still going on. And I kept saying to my wife, I was like, I will be going to Lebanon as a sergeant, because if whoever got promoted in our unit was told, you will be going to Lebanon. Right. And I said, I'm going to Lebanon. Okay, even though there were 7 other fellas in my unit going for promotion, every one of them outranked in terms of seniority and experience. They were all way ahead of me. Yeah. But I kept reinforcing going to Lebanon. And I remember getting a phone call. I was driving down to the shop one day and I got a phone call from the captain of my unit. He says, you're not going to believe this. You finished number 1. Fuck. Not in the unit. He says, you finished number 1 in the Army, or the 206. And I genuinely believe that was power of the mind.
Yeah. Okay, so you went outside of the Army for help with this. Where did you go? And that question that you asked at the end, who do you want to be training your son or daughter if they join the army? Did you develop that question yourself, or did someone outside coach it?
No, I literally, because and I'll backtrack on that, right?
Yeah.
Where that belief kind of came from. I seen 168 after my CV. I was so deflated. Yeah. Naturally, I was disappointed, right? Now, we got a joining instructions for the interview process, outlining what the interview would be. And whenever I read the joining instructions, it actually highlighted the role of a sergeant in the army. And when I read the role, I said, that's me.
Yeah.
And it said somewhere that the primary role of a sergeant in the army is to train recruits and prepare people for overseas operations and all this. And I looked and I said, that's me. And I just thought to myself, I said, if I can guarantee you, if any of them had a son or daughter, because at the time, yes, I was less experienced than everyone else. Yes, I had less overseas service. But when I looked at things in my unit, basic things, all right, every time there was a military funeral, I was, Corporal Brady. Okay. I'm like, guys, I'm after burying more people. I don't even have any emotion going to funerals. I genuinely, I done over 50 military funerals, I'd say.
Yeah.
I was at a point where I was like, I feel my emotions even left. I'm worried if a family member left, I have no emotion. But the CSs would say, but look at you, like you're in fantastic shape. You look great in uniform. That's what we want.
Yeah.
And it always stuck with me. It's like, you know what? Like if I'm a dad and my son is joining the army, right, I don't want him walking in, I'm like, oh man, he's in good hands. He's in good hands, you know. But there was a guy from the travelling community came into one of our platoons. He was when I was a corporal, years beforehand, and he recognised me from the boxing. And he said that to me. He came up to me in the conference block. He was so nervous because he was probably one of the first people from the travelling community to join the army, you know. And his dad was really, really scared, like, because he didn't know what he was kind of getting into, you know. Yeah. And I was kind of reassuring him because he came up to me and he's like, will he be okay and stuff? And I was like, look, we look after him. He goes, I know. And he kept tapping me in the chest. He goes, I know you look after him. I know he's in good hands. I know you look after him, you know. And I gave him my phone number and everything. And I said, look, take my phone number. If you have any worries, give me a buzz. There's no problem at all. And he texted me and he's like, look, I know you're looking after him. I know you're looking after him, you know. Yeah. But it was good and that stuck with me. And I was like, that's really, really, really important to parents. That because they're kids, 17 is a kid.
Yeah.
You know, 18 is even a kid joining an environment like that, especially for a lot of them, it's their first job. Yeah. The army's the first job for a lot of people, you know. Yeah. My first paid job. So it's the first job for a lot of people. So it's very important to parents that they're being handed over to someone that they see is going to have a good impression on their child, you know.
Yeah, especially at 17, right? Because you would have been 17 joined as well. Was there any pullback from your parents, like about signing the dotted line at 17?
No,
because your dad was in, you kind of knew.
And they seen the impact that I had on my brother, you know. Yeah. But it was brilliant because, like, it's people always say, you know, and you probably ask the question like, would I recommend joining the army? Absolutely. Yeah. If I had my time over again, if you said go back and live your life again, I'd join the army again.
Yeah, I'd do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, the army paid for me to go back and do my leaving cert. There's a vacancy come up to go and train cadets. All right. And at the time, a captain in my unit, he said, you want to go up and train cadets? He goes, I'm telling you, he goes, the minute you train cadets, and that's on your CV, he goes, any interview you ever go in the future, he goes, they see this guy train cadets, he must be good. Okay. And I was like, you know what, I would. Because at the time, I'd no kids or anything like that. So I had no problem going to the Corps for 6 months training cadets. And I would have enjoyed that because I was really, really, really into my job. Yeah. You know, I was I loved instructing. I got up every day. I was excited going into work. I was excited about the different environments that we were doing. You know, I loved instructing because you're, you know, 1 week you're in a section room training. The next week you're in the mountains. You know, the next week you're down in Fort Davis in Cork, wherever. It was just such, like, to instruct in a course in the army, recruits or cadets or something, it's such an enjoyable experience. Yeah. Anyone who says it's not shouldn't be wearing a uniform. It's that simple. It's such an enjoyable experience. But he said to me, you would train recruits. I had a big limit of belief. I was like, sure, I've only a junior cert, you know, like these guys have degrees and everything. So I'm stupid in comparison to an officer. He says, go back and do your leaving cert. I was like, can you do it? He's like, yeah. He goes, the army facilitate that. So I went back in 2012, okay, after I'd done the sergeant's course, come off the sergeant's course, but 6 weeks later, I went back. It was the year I was actually getting married. I went back and I did my leaving cert, okay, did a full year. You know, you went back to the army, you done duties and things like that in between, but I done a full year. And after that then, that gave me so much confidence. I was like, geez, I've got my leaving cert now, so now I'm going to go and do a degree. And I was like, geez, I've done this now, so now I'm going to go and I'm going to, you know, get into the mindset side of things and all that.
Yeah, it's brilliant. What advice would you give to parents, right? that are having reservations about signing the dotted line for their 17-year-old son or daughter about joining the army, what advice would you give them?
Like, there's naturally going to be a huge amount of fear because it's not like just your average job. There's a lot of time away from home. Obviously, the army is still seen as a very masculine environment as well. But the advice I would give parents, right, is that if your son or daughter is going to the army, okay, you have to look at it. It's like they're going to another family, like, and a family that really looks after them. There's very few organisations, and I've done a lot of keynotes. I've done a lot of speaking over the years. I've coached hundreds of leaders. I've coached people from managing directors, founders, CEOs, right down to middle managers, and I'm telling you now, there's very few organisations out there will look after people like the army. You know, if someone has a son or daughter that is sick and is in, you know, God forbid, you know, Crumlin's Children's Hospital or something like that, there's no organisation will get behind you more and give you as much support and as much leverage as you need. Skill set, like outside of what goes on paper and certification, which in this day and age doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah.
You know, Civvy Street's like the Wild West. People can go and they can start found a business with no certifications. Okay, so in terms of skill set, the army can really weaponize someone with high value skills that companies will absolutely swallow up whenever they do decide to step away from the army, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy, yeah. Quick pause in the conversation to shout out two of today's sponsors. First up, IT.ie, your trusted partner for managed IT services, cybersecurity and modern workplace solutions. If you want your business running smoothly, securely and future ready, these are the people to talk to. You can visit IT.ie for more information. And if you're moving house, scaling a business, renovating, or just need a bit of extra breathing room, Nesta Storage can really take the stress out of the process. They offer secure, modern, and flexible storage solutions with both short and long-term options, perfect if your new place isn't ready yet, or if you don't want to move everything at once. Simple, safe, and stress-free storage when you need it most. Plus, Nesta even offer a free moving service. You can visit nesta.ie for more information, or even give the guys a call. Let's get back to the conversation. Here we go. But do you find as well, right, lads, that when they're going to leave, right, that they're just like, I'm done with life kind of thing? Or do you think that like lads coming out or women coming out should look for something more after they leave? Like, do you think they're doing that?
Yeah, like in what they are doing currently is mixed. So you have people that are doing a bit of both, naturally, like most environments, okay? You have people that they'll have a pension.
Yeah.
So you serve 21 years in the army, if the old contract's up as far as January 2004, you get a pension after 21 years. So I would have been on that contract and I didn't get the pension.
Yeah.
But you serve out your time in the army. You leave at a quite young age with a pension. You've got so much runway for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, what some people do is they're like, right, I'm going to upskill. You see a lot of people doing that in the army now. They're upskilling in terms of health and safety, HR. Okay, these are big areas that people will upskill. And they get into different roles with corporate companies, and it gives them ambition, it gives them growth and aspirations and ambition and all those things that people need in their life to have a purpose, okay? But then you'll have other people that say, okay, I need to protect my pension. Yeah. So I don't want to get taxed too much. So they might go off and they might drive a bus or, nothing against those things. But it probably gets to the stage where it's just like, I'm just working for money here. Yeah. I'm just trading time for money. And that's when people lose a lot of ambition. They get old very, very, very quick. Yeah. Okay? They start, because you're not meeting your needs. So when there's a lot of voids in your life, they start to naturally look for other things to fill those voids, which is a very, very dangerous place to be,
Yeah. The thing I found hard, right, was that, let's say, I didn't have the support maybe that you would have had in the army, right? So like when I was going to college, like the lads would be like, so how are you getting on? Is it going well? And that would kind of motivate you to go well, whereas like outside of work, it wasn't, let's say, or outside of work, you didn't have that kind of, it's like, what are you going to college for? Like, that's probably a bit of a waste of money. But the army was always that self-improvement thing, like pushing you along no matter what it was. But when you leave the army, you don't really have that like self-improvement process, right? So what tools can someone put in place? Is it a case of getting a coach like someone like yourself? Or where can they look for that advice to kind of keep the motivation up or discipline even?
When I was leaving the army, my goal was very clear. I was going to start in a business. Yeah. Okay? There was huge fear around that for a number of reasons. Number one, myself and my wife are starting a business together. Yeah. So I'm in an army career, I'm getting a wage every week. Don't have to worry about that. It comes in every Wednesday, okay? No matter what happens in the world, we're safe.
Yeah.
We've got beans and toast. As my
Yeah.
wife doing sergeant.
That's it, yeah.
He stopped my wife one day and he says, look, he says, if he stays in the army, he's safe, right? You're not going to get, what did he say? You're not going to get the Bahamas, but you've got beans and toast. You're safe, okay? But we were safe. I knew my wage was coming every week. My wife was a hairdresser, okay? So there's always need for hairdressers, and she was 17 years in Peter Market as well. So she was safe. Now, we both decided to step away at the same time. So we went from a position, okay, you think about this, in March, we've wages coming in, I'm building my business, so we have a side hustle.
Yeah.
So essentially, you have 3 wages coming in. August, right, those wages aren't coming in anymore. If you're not good at what you do, you don't get paid, okay? And that's the lay of the land for any business owner. You've given away certainty, and you've embraced uncertainty, okay? Now, whenever we stepped away from that, there was a huge amount of fear, number one, okay? But number two, and I think most importantly, was it brought out a different side to you, because you feel that your back is a little bit to the wall.
Yeah.
So whenever your back is a little bit to the wall, like that can really bring out strengths and characteristics and skill sets that you didn't realize you had, you know?
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And I suppose during your time in the army then, right, you've done a number of different courses. What do you think is the course that had the most impact on your career in the army that you also kind of carried over to outside? Was it like recruit training? Was it the sniper course, or was it the standards course? Like,
Yeah. 100% the sniper course.
Okay.
why the
Yeah.
sniper course?
Okay, when I was in recruit training,
Yeah.
we were standing on parade one day, and when you're on parade, you don't look left or right. If you do, you have someone that's coming looking for you, right? And I seen a guy walking past, and he was wearing the smock is the army jacket, yeah.
Yeah.
So he was wearing a smock, but his was tailored. His was different to ours. It had a slightly different pattern. Ours has 4 pockets. His had 6, and had pockets in the back and stuff. So I was like, that jacket looks class. That guy looks. Who is this guy? Yeah. But who's this guy? You know. So next thing was like, and my platoon sergeant came over and he says, kid, he goes, you've a long way to go before you get a jacket like that, you know.
Okay.
And I asked one of the instructors afterwards, like, what's the story with that jacket? He says, that's a sniper.
Right.
I was like, so a sniper gets a different jacket? He's like, yeah. He goes, sniper gets a different jacket. There's a handful of snipers. You count one hand how many snipers were in the barracks that time.
Yeah.
Then on the sniper, there's a level, the passing sniper course. So you can pass, where you just get over and you pass the course.
Yeah.
You know, to the 85% failure rate, so that's a great achievement to pass. But then there's what's called a badge sniper test. You go up to the Curragh in the last week, and if you pass every single test that week, you get a sniper badge. Right. Okay? Now they've changed it over the years, but back then you had to pass every test to get a badge. If you didn't pass every test that week, even if you passed the sniper course, you didn't get the badge.
Right.
Okay? Now in my head, I wanted the badge and I wanted the jacket.
Okay.
But on the course, the first week of the course, right, you do every test and you haven't even been taught how to do them yet. So you're doing observation tests, you're doing stalks, you're doing camouflage and concealment tests, you're doing judge and distance tests, and the margins are so tight. It's mentally such a demanding course. The margins are so tight that you will naturally fail so many of them. Doesn't matter, you could be the best soldier in the army. I can guarantee you, like there's guys in the Ranger Wing were even on the badge test week with me, and they failed the course. Let alone badging, right? These guys failed the course.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, you could be a phenomenal soldier. You need a very strong mindset, and you need lots and lots of luck to get through a sniper course. Now, for me, after the first week, I was failing every test. And I wasn't used to that, because in my head, I'm a high performer, boxing, I'll always find a way to win.
Yeah.
But I was failing every test, and I felt like it was over my hands. It's like going into like a French test and you can't speak a word of French. You just couldn't pass the test. But they're calling you out every day and they're saying, Brady, fail. And you're like, holy shit. Now, all I kept doing is I kept taking the failure in, because now I understand your mind has got 13 rules and they can work for you or against you. Okay? Now, your mind works in words and images.
Yeah.
That's all. Your mind works in words and images. Now, when I heard fail every time, okay, my subconscious mind seeded that word failure in. Right? Your subconscious mind controls 96% of your actions. 96% of everything we do. Like we're talking here, I'm not thinking about what I'm going to say next. It's subconscious. It'll just come.
Yeah,
okay? It controls 96% of everything we do. So that information was getting sent down to my body, so I felt like a failure. Right. So what did I do the next day? I didn't turn up and say, okay, what did I do wrong yesterday so I can correct that today? I turned up the next day and failed. So I kept failing.
Yeah.
And then I realized, okay, that if I want to pass this course, something needs to change. If I want that jacket, something needs to change. Yeah. And what needed to change was my mindset. Right. Okay, I needed to start changing the way I was looking at this. So hence the name of the book, Change Your Jacket.
Right, okay.
Your jacket, it's like a mindset. As you go through life, you don't have the same jacket. It changes over time.
Yeah.
And if you see a jacket that you want, a lot of the time you have to make a shift in order to get that jacket, you know? So that's why it's had such a big impression on me.
Okay, so the sniper jacket influenced the name of the book.
Yeah, the name of that book, Change Your Jacket, okay, is purely based off sniper course. That even the Change Your Jacket analogy, I've had that. I didn't just name the book after that. That was a principle in my program as far back as 2018.
Right.
I had these 5 key principles that I took from my military career. They were all mental performance influenced, and one of them was Change Your Jacket for that exact story. Okay. But I remember one of my clients, he had a horse. He's like that. Honestly, I'm going to call my horse Change Your Jacket. It's such an impactful. It's got so much meaning to it, you know. So the book is. People think the book is where Change Your Jacket came from. That started way before the book, you know.
Right. Yeah, geez, and it's had such a major impact on you.
Huge influence.
But as someone, right, before we get on to the jacket side of things, right, or the book, but as someone that maybe thought they were stupid and didn't get the Leaving Cert done, now obviously you went back and you got it done. Did you do the Leaving Cert before you done the sniper course, or did you do the sniper course first?
Yeah.
That's where I got real confidence in my academic ability.
Yeah.
Was things like, even before this, I done the sniper course in 2007.
Okay. Yeah.
But even before that, doing the NCO's course and training recruits, I started to realise that I've got fantastic academic ability. Okay, I've got a photographic memory.
Yeah.
But I could only utilise those things whenever I was doing things that engaged me, things that I enjoyed, things that I had a passion for. So if I'm in school and I'm learning about maths equations and I can't see where this applies to my life, it means nothing to me.
Yeah.
Whereas when I can see something applies to my life, I'll take it in, I'll absorb it, you know. Like my clients, they say it to me all the time, because I work with loads of business owners and I work with loads of people that work with teams and leaders.
Yeah.
And they'll ask me questions that are nothing to do with mental performance, nothing to do with mindset. They'll just ask me questions that they could be soundboard and a challenge they're having within their business. And I just come up with an answer. 9 times out of 10, it's a brilliant answer, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, holy shit, you have a serious business brain. I'm like, but that's because it engages me. I love business. There's nothing about a business that I don't love. If someone wanted to sit down and have like a discussion about figures and data and numbers, the fact that it's oriented towards business, I would engage with that. Okay, but if that was towards something else, you know, like maths, I would have no interest in it, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like, I had the same problem, right? I couldn't, like, learn in school. Like, I left that junior cert level and I just hated school, right? But when I got into the army, I realised I learned actually how to learn in the army, right?
Yeah.
But is that, like, how, because you just had an interest in the job and an interest in, like, what they're speaking about, that really drove you to kind of learn more? Or was there something else that twigged that kind of drove you on academically?
It was purely that and the career path.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the army as well, is that there's a laid out career path. And sometimes when you can see the path in front of you and you've got clarity, there's so much more inner drive to engage with the process and engage with the skills that you need to acquire. So in business, okay, if someone doesn't have clarity on where they're going, if I say to someone, okay, where's your business going to be in 3 years? And they have no idea, 9 times out of 10, they're not acquiring new skills.
Yeah.
Okay, they're probably going backwards. And the reason being is because they don't know where this is going. Whereas there's 3 questions I ask all my clients. And even they know I'm going to ask the questions. Every time when I sit down and do a one-to-one session with them on them, we always get different answers. They're like, holy shit, I did not see that coming today. And the questions are simple. What do you want to be known for?
Yeah.
Okay. Where does your name belong? So in your industry, where does your name belong?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's one key area you'd love to dominate? And people will answer those questions alone. Whenever they come and work with me, we'll get completely different answers and it'll reshape the course and trajectory of their business moving forward. But what that gives them is clarity and focus of where they're going. So now what they need to let go of, okay, what they need to embrace, where they need to acquire new skills, all of that becomes much clearer because now they're like, Jesus, look, my name belongs here. So I need to go and do this. I need to get in front of, you know, you go knocking on doors.
Yeah.
You know, like I've done a lot of keynote speaking over the years, but no one came and knocked on my door and said, hi Martin, do you want to become a keynote speaker? Okay, I had to go and kick the doors down.
Yeah.
But I'd done that because I got very clear on where I want my name to belong in the industry, you know?
Okay, that's brilliant. And then the process, right, of writing a book. Why did you write the book? Was that just because you wanted to be the person of influence or be known as this type of person? Or was that just experience you felt needed to be in a book, or is it a mix of both?
The reason I wrote that book is the answer to question number 2. Okay. Okay, where do you feel your name belongs?
Yeah.
And A lot of people that come and work with us, they'll have certain behaviours that they know holds them back.
Yeah.
One of them is procrastination. Okay, it's like, I know I should do this, but I just keep putting it off. And then a year passes, still living with it. 2 years pass, still living with it, okay? You ask yourself that question, what am I known for? Or sorry, where does my name belong? The next thing you look at is, okay, where does my name belong? You need somewhere to base your name off in the industry. So you'll immediately look to what's the impact that people are having in the industry that I want to have.
Yeah.
So if I look at people like Tony Robbins, if I look at Brendan Burchard, I look at these people. If they have spare time in their day, they're not like, oh geez, I had 4 coaching sessions today, I'm going to take the rest of the day off.
Yeah, it's like,
Okay.
what's next?
They're here.
Yeah.
They're on podcasts,
Yeah.
right? They're in front of an audience, okay? They're like with the guys here
Yeah.
and getting videographers in, and they're speaking and they're reaching new audiences, or they're writing books. So I started to look at these people and go, okay, what's the type of influence that I can have? And I wanted to have that influence where I could be sitting here right now talking to you.
Yeah.
But right now, okay, there's people watching courses of mine.
Yeah.
There's people watching live webinars. There's people watching YouTube videos. There's people listening to podcasts, and there's people reading the book. So I'm looking at every facet of how I can reach people with my message, because we really believe in what we do.
Yeah.
You know, I genuinely believe 95% of success in life is mindset. Okay? And if I want to reach more and more and more people with that, then we have to get out there in so many different modes, you know, and the book was one of them.
Okay. So in terms of then writing a book, right? If someone wants to be positioned as that person of influence in their industry, what's the process that you went through to write your book? Is it just kind of going onto Amazon and writing a book, or did you have to get a publisher in, or?
There's so many different ways you can go about it. I was very lucky. I had 3 book writers that were clients of mine.
Brilliant.
So that was amazing. So like for me, it was the shortcut to success. If you don't know how to do something, ask someone how to do it. Some of the guys, how do you write a book? You know?
Yeah.
So I had someone, a step-by-step process. Martin, here's how you write a book. Okay? Proofreading it. Martin, I'll proofread your book. Okay? I had all that, so I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff, you know? But the actual writing of a book, very straightforward, because for me, it was very easy to write a book. Even though I'm not a writer, I'm actually a terrible writer. Like that's called a boxer's fracture. You can see the bump in my hand, right? That's called a boxer's fracture. I fractured my hand so many times, and I'm left-handed, so I physically can't write. Yeah. So 3 hours every Sunday morning, I took out a Word document, all right, and I what do I want to get across in this book? What's the outcome of the book? So I future-paced, and I looked at the outcome of the book and the message I want to get across, and it distilled that down to 10 key areas, 10 chapters. Okay, we incorporated an 11th one, which was a huge overlook on my position, which I'll talk about in a second. But I distilled down to 10 chapters. Now, every week in my program, I do 2 group calls on a Monday and a Friday. Right. So, and I'm speaking about this stuff all the time. Yeah. Okay, so I'm speaking about this stuff all the time. I'm speaking about why someone puts themselves under pressure. I'm speaking about, you know, your subconscious mind and it controls 90. I'm speaking about this week in, week out. So I'm coming off on a Sunday morning. I'm sitting down to write a chapter. And I've just spoke the whole week about this stuff. I'm speaking about it one-to-one with people in calls. So if I'm speaking about why someone puts themselves under pressure, I'm writing about it, I'm giving the key fundamentals about it, and I'm sharing stories. Okay. So here's like a client I work with, here's a time in my life where I put myself under pressure. I'm writing the stories, and it became so easy. And I could sit there for 3 hours on a Sunday morning, and I'm like, holy crap, I've just done 3,500 words. Yeah. And before you knew it, like I had that book written in about, I'd say 12 weeks.
Okay, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, and then it's a very slow process then after that. Yeah. It's the, you know, getting your book formatted, getting the cover design, all that stuff is a tedious process. Like we've just brought out a high performance journal. Okay. So it's a 90-day journal where people reflect every day, people goal set every day, people journal on their gratitude, all that stuff every single day. But it's doing it's the easy bit. It's getting it over the line and getting it out there and published is the tedious bit, you know. Because you're fluting around a lot with cover designs. Then when you have that done, you get proof copies. So if there's a couple of errors, you have to go back and correct those, and then it's a slow process getting out again. So like I was hoping to get all my journal out to all my clients for Christmas. Now we're never going to have it finished and printed and sent to us by the 6th of January, you know? Okay. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Was that something that frustrated you? Because I found like in the army, things like if you want something done, it can just happen. You can just make it happen, right? And it moves super quick. But outside, things just move a lot slower. And it might only be like 2 weeks slower, but to me, like that's like 2 weeks is a huge amount of time. Did that frustrate you a lot? Or did you learn to just deal with it?
Yes and no. Okay. It frustrates me in the context that I was so used to and conditioned that in the army you pick up the phone, there's an answer straight away. Yeah. Okay, any problem you have in the army, someone has the answer to that question.
Yeah.
You pick up the phone, the problem is solved. Okay, so you're in the army, for example, right? If I'm bringing recruits to the Wicklow Mountains,
Yeah.
and we're doing digging into trenches on the side of Cemetery Hill.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of steps have to go into that process. Number one, you have to book accommodation in the Wicklow Mountains. Number two, you have to book transport to get them there. Number three, you have to book order food.
Yeah.
You need chefs. You need security.
Yeah.
Okay, you need guard duties.
Yeah.
Okay, you need ammunition. You need to book the hill. You need shovels. Do you need a JCB? Okay, we need a JCB. There's so many different pieces of the puzzle, that, right? If you said that to someone that's running a business outside, they'd say, geez, that'd take you 6 months. Yeah. In the army, you could do that in 2 days. As a platoon sergeant, I would have organised all that stuff in 2 days. Yeah. And the reason being is, okay, there's my list of phone numbers. Okay, there's the list of jobs I have. Okay, I ring him, done. I ring him, done. I ring him, done. Whereas outside, it's not like that. Yeah. Okay, and for me, one of the best 2 words you can say is let go. Right? If something is frustrating, if something's eating you, just let go. Yeah. Everything is meant to happen when it's supposed to happen. And if you go with the flow like that, you know, it's an intuitive level of thinking, but when you go with the flow in life like that, things start to come to you with more ease and more flow, you know?
Okay, fair enough. Grant, so your book then, right? Can you tell us a bit more about it? There's 10 chapters. It's all about, who needs your book?
That book is for anyone. It's to develop the mindset to change your life. Stop waiting for life to change your mindset. Yeah. Okay? That book is for the person who is in a position right now where they feel stuck. They know that they're capable of more, but they're not tapping into it. And they're just watching life kind of pass them by. The chapters goes through absolutely everything. Okay? From the fundamentals of clarity and goal setting, which is very, very, very important. I genuinely believe you haven't got clarity on where you're going. Okay? It's very hard to find your way. And a lot of times you're just going to find yourself going around in circles. It goes into the power of the subconscious mind. Like my wife, Roseanne, who's on the back of it, she's a rapid transformational therapist. That's a combination of CBT, NLP, hypnotherapy, and neuroscience. Okay? So that can help people to overcome problems in a very, very, very short space of time. Yeah. Okay? If we have a client that has a fear of public speaking, we can help them overcome that in one session. Literally, you know, people are terrified, I'd rather die than get on stage. We can help them overcome that in one session. When people struggle with chronic bouts of anxiety, poor mindset around money. So someone lives in a scarcity mindset and is very indecisive with what to do with their money, we can help them overcome things like that in as little as one session, because there's a clear 4-step process that you bring people through. But Roseanne's contributed chapters to that book, you know, that goes into the power of your subconscious mind, it goes into the rules of your mind. And the book teaches us so much about that. The book teaches you how you can use your mind to create anything within your life. Okay. You know, and anyone can. Yeah. Like one of my clients, right? He reached out to me when he was struggling with severe anxiety. He was in the garage industry, the motor industry. Okay. And he reached out to me to overcome that, okay? Yeah. And he said, look, I'm stepping away from the garage anyway. It's completely burnt me out, it's wiped me out. I'm stepping away from it, all right? He had applied for a job doing deliveries. He physically applied for that job. So when he started working, he applied for that job. I says, look, just hold off. Work with us for a few weeks, see how things go. He started to work with us. He started to make rapid change, right? Not only did he massively grow his business, he became a mentor to garage owners. Jeez. He now mentors garage owners how to scale their businesses by working 4 days a week. Right. So I met him yesterday. He's a day off. Jeez. Like that's unheard of in the motor trade, okay? Yeah. Now, when I met him yesterday, he told me a story about his mum. Okay? She's in her 60s. She bought her own house in her 60s. By setting up a job that didn't even exist. She started to grow vegetables and all that stuff in her garden, and she had an honesty box. And she started to declare the earnings because, you know, she wanted to feel significant. She started to declare the earnings and everything of the business that she was making. And she ended up getting like the funds to buy her house outright in her 60s. Okay? Now you think of that. She didn't create that through physical labor. She didn't create that with her physical body. She created that with her mind.
Yeah. A lot of people have given up by 60, right?
Yeah. And that's a woman's in her 60s. And as we discussed yesterday, like that's legacy. Because when you get to that stage of life, you start to think of what's a legacy that I actually want to leave behind. Yeah. It's not, you know, and that's so important to people. It goes back to stepping away from careers and transitioning careers. Legacy is very important to people when they get over age 50. And I'll tell you why, because we work with a lot of people when you get over the age of 50. And what people struggle with when they get over that age of life is guilt. I should have been there more, I could have been there more, I could have done more, I could have gave more, whatever it is. Severe guilt. Guilt that they hold themselves, that they didn't take the opportunities whenever they were there in life. Guilt for others. Okay, maybe I wasn't as good as a parent as I could have been. Maybe I wasn't as good as a manager as I could have been. Severe guilt around that. But also they feel, who am I now? What's my legacy? If I was to drop dead in the morning, what is it that I'm leaving behind, you know?
Okay, yeah. Just, they're like pretty deep questions then, pretty deep process.
But you don't ask people those questions every day. You know, like I don't ask a client, like, if you drop dead in the morning, what are you leaving behind? What's your legacy? That's further down the road. You know, like there are things that are further down the road. You know, like I know, like I'm very clear, and it does direct a lot of my decisions day to day. But I am clear on what I want my legacy to be, you know. Like I'm creating a private memory stick. Like I've got thousands of hours of recorded content for the big bad world out there. But I have a small memory stick, right? And it's videos for my kids.
Okay.
It's private videos, right? Because both of them have different personalities.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm giving them guidance. So someday, whenever I'm gone, they'll have their own memory sticks, and it's just me telling them, this is okay. When you're in situations like this, when you're in situations like that, walk with belief, assume the best for yourself. It's just giving them a little bit of guidance, you know.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. But as someone yourself, right? Like I know you're doing this for your kids. So what about you personally, right? Are you like writing down your goals every day? Do you have like a personal diary? Do you write every day, or is it once a week thing or once a month thing, or do you do anything like that?
Every day.
Every day.
I came up on the train this morning, and the first thing I did when I got on the train, right, is I did a little bit of work because I'm doing a big workshop tomorrow online with my clients, right? So that was the first thing on my mind. I wanted to get off, and then I sat down and I wrote my goals. I listened to an audio every single morning. I woke up this morning at 4:10. And the first thing I did is listen to 20-minute audio. That audio is recorded by my wife, and that audio, it's called neuroplasticity. Your mind works in words and images.
Right, yeah.
And that audio, it praises you, okay, it reinforces who you are and it reinforces what you're capable of. And you act like what you want. You act like you have it already, so you're grateful for it. Now, when I write my goals, I write it like I have it already. Right. There's one of the master classes, right? We're actually in the process of building a course at the minute. It's got 6 modules. It'll be open to the general public. But one of the modules in that is around goal setting. And people think we're going to teach you how to set goals, right? So, so what's the different frameworks for goals? SMART, specific, measurable. No. One of the videos in that, right, is teaching you how to write to rewire.
Okay.
Write to rewire how you think about yourself and your goals, right? I was up in Belfast last Christmas. And the hotel that we went to stay in, I done my first ever public speaking event at that hotel. Since I left the army, it was the first time I ever stood up in public with a microphone, right? Yeah. So that hotel naturally had a positive influence on me, right? Yeah. Now I wasn't aware of any of this, but now I'm so aware of it. Okay, that's how that happened, right? Yeah. Last Christmas we went back to a hotel, and I got up one morning and I sat down to write my goals. And when I write my goals, sometimes when you listen to an audio I see in the mornings, new ideas will flow to you, because an idea will pick you when you're in the right state of mind. Yeah. That's where people come up with the most amazing ideas. It just picks you when you're in the right state of mind. Yeah. But I sat there and I wrote my goals. Now, I was always very good at impersonating people. Okay? Very good at impersonating people. So when I sat down to write my goals, one of the goals I wrote is that I want to act in something.
Okay.
Right? And for no other reason, just that bucket list goal.
Yeah.
I'd love to act in something, you know? I took no action towards the goal, right? I didn't go and take acting classes or anything like that, but I wrote down a goal that I could see myself acting in something. And I thought to myself, I was thinking like you see lads on Hell Week. I was like, you know what? I've got the military background and I've got the whole psychology side of things. I'm made for something like that. Yeah. So I could actually visualize myself, because my wife, she recorded an audio and she mentions in her audio, you know, you see yourself becoming a household name, you see yourself, you know, on TV, etc., etc. And what you look for is signs that I'm on the right way. You look for micro agreements that you're on the right way, right? When I launched that book, right, 5 months later, within weeks of launching that book, there was a woman reached out to me and she said, Martin, she goes, I seen a picture in the corner of your book. Could you send that on? She says, I'm recruiting for Volkswagen's 2026 range TV advertisement. And we're looking for a guy who has a real outdoors edge and is in his late 30s. She goes, and that picture looks like you fit the bill. I was like, so I sent her on the picture, all right, of that, and she's like, oh, it's definitely you. Brilliant. And she goes like, no, we have to put you in thing because there's over 400 people going for this because it's well paid. Okay. It's one day. It's in the Wicklow Mountains, right? What's the chance of that? It's well paid. Within 5 days, she came back to me. She goes, perfect. She goes, you are getting a role. And I'm up to the Wicklow Mountains in June. And I acted I'm on every day, without fail, someone messaged me, I seen you on TV, halftime in a football match or something, because I'm in Volkswagen's 2026 range. But I took no action towards that goal. But I believe when you take action towards the bigger goals, you'll be rewarded in other ways. So in my theory, my concept is that the fact that one of my goals was to write a book. And the fact that I went and wrote the book, you're rewarded in other ways for it, you know?
Yeah, that's good. It's the same thing probably with this, right? Like that.
Yeah.
We have, like, I thought, like, I'm going to start a podcast. I think we've got 76 recorded. We're moving towards 100 now. And we've got 2 sponsors on board. So I knew someday that we would get sponsorship for just sitting down having the chats with people.
Yeah.
Which is...
And was there a time whenever you said to yourself, like, you know, you can't get paid through that? Like, that's...
Yeah. I was just, like, even for a while ago, I was like, what am I fucking like talking to people? Who do I think I am?
Yeah.
But then I was like, just staying true to it and just keep pushing forward, like, just one guest at a time. Yeah. Rather than thinking about the bigger kind of picture. Yeah.
And it becomes a reality. But what you're doing now, like, it's a good example because to you it's normal.
Yeah.
You know, and like, it's like to you, okay, it's normal. Doing a podcast, like, you don't get up and say, oh, geez, I'm hosting a podcast today. And you're a good podcaster, by the way, because I've spoken on a lot and the questions you ask are very good. And normally people have, you know,
the little sheet.
They have the little sheet, like, to give them prompts, like, but you're a good podcaster. I give you that. Yeah, no, genuinely, you are. You're a good conversationalist, you're a good podcaster. But, like, there's a tiny percentage of people are doing things like that in life. Yeah. But sometimes whenever you're doing it, you overlook that, you know. And I think a lot of people that are, like, you know, working in leadership roles, or, you know, even people that run their own businesses, a lot of people run their own businesses like, oh, I don't see myself as a business owner, you know. And I mean, there's such a small percentage of people are doing what you're doing. Yeah. Don't ever forget that, you know. If you can get out of bed and you have a skill where you can go and earn money that no one else has to pay you, right? No one has to, if you can go and, it doesn't matter what you earn, if you can go and earn that, okay, you're in a great position and you can always build on that, you know.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And then, like, were you always into, like, the whole manifesting thing and the mindset thing, or is this just something that kind of evolved over time for you, like, within the physical training?
The manifesting side of things is not something that we really push. Okay. I'm a big believer. There's different levels of consciousness, okay? Yeah. And you have, like, it's called a reactive state. Yeah. That's where 97% of people live. They just get up and they just react to the day. And they just take life in the stride, and you look, if I have a good day, I have a good day, if I have a bad day, I have a bad day, and you just react, and they're triggered by things or react to the problems, right? Believe it or not, that's where 97% of people live, okay? Then you've got what's called a willful state. So a willful state is where you get up and you take actions, right? Yeah. And you kick down the doors, you force things to happen in your life, okay? I'd be quite a willful person. Yeah. Like, I will take the actions to make things happen. I don't sit at home and say, okay, I manifested that and that's just going to happen for me. And I'm going to manifest, you know, money into my bank account. I don't look at life like that. Yeah. Okay. Can you manifest things? Absolutely. Have I manifested things? Absolutely. Yeah. My wife is an unbelievable manifester. Right. She's a very intuitive person, and she's a phenomenal manifester. Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of people out there naturally are phenomenal manifestors, but at the same time, if you think you can sit back and manifest everything into your life, okay, then you're gonna have a tough life, and you wouldn't want to have a huge amount of responsibilities. A lot of people are in that willful zone where you're taking actions, you're forcing things, but there's also, okay, another level called intuitive. And intuitive is for people where they do believe in a spiritual being. They do believe in a vibrancy, okay? Yeah. And if you can combine the two of them, okay, you become an unstoppable force in life. Okay, and I have an intuitive belief. I have an intuitive side. I genuinely believe that I'm being guided and the right things are supposed to happen for me in life when they're supposed to happen. And I genuinely believe that. And that's why I write my goals every single day. You know, I've got a whiteboard in my office. I call it the universe. Right, okay. And I ask it every day, do you know exactly what I want? And I tell it what I want every day. Yeah. You know, and I make sure it's clear, because your thoughts, okay, are so much more powerful than what you say. Because your mind works in words and images. When you think a thought, that creates a physical state in your body. Okay? Creates a physical, if you think thoughts that make you feel anxious, okay, it makes me feel anxious. You'll naturally feel anxiety in the pit of your stomach or that tightness in your chest, okay? And you'll take actions that align with that. You know, the woman last year, she was going to a public speaking event and we had her so sharp and ready to go. It was in Norway. Yeah. She was speaking the multiple different languages, right? And she messaged me the day before and she said, Martin, I'm so nervous. I feel like I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders. Right. And I said, listen to what you said. I feel like I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders. So naturally, her body felt heavy. When you feel heavy, you feel like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders because that's what you're saying to yourself. The law of gravity will pull you towards the ground. You become more gravitational and less what we call vibrational.
Yeah.
Now, when you're thinking positive thoughts, there's definitely, obviously, a shift in your state, your physical being. Okay? You're radiating. You're now in a state of what we call vibrancy, where you're radiating outwards. You're radiating a vibe that is naturally going to attract things back into your life. Okay? People say, oh, gee, what's the chances of that happening? Or, synchronicity and coincidence. Most of it comes down to your vibrational state.
Yeah.
Okay? That if you're sending out the right vibration with intentional thoughts, assume. We tell our clients all the time, one of the trainings I did in the course is called assume the best. Assume that the best things are going to come back to you,
Yeah, that's what I always say that in the office. Change your vibration. And
Yeah.
the day will change for you. Yeah, so it's good. Grand. So let's say someone's stuck right in their mindset, whether it's like changing jobs, they're like in their job, they want to leave to a new job, they want to leave their job and start a business, or they're even just in the army and they want to leave the army, they want to. What is the process that they should put themselves through, whether it be like writing down something or just taking action to do something? What is like the first 2 or 3 things that they could do to kind of change that situation?
The first step everyone should always do.
Okay.
And they would think it's, I spoke at an army event a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I had lieutenant colonels in the room and I was like, okay, what do you think you should do if you want to change something in life? And they said, get clear on what it is you want to do. Okay? No, there's something before that. Make a decision that you're going to do it.
Okay.
Most people don't make the decision.
Yeah.
Most people don't make a decision, okay? For example, if someone says, all right, I want to start a business, okay, and I say, okay, if I was to meet your wife, would she say that, Jesus, you should see this guy. Every day, he's showing that he wants to start a business. And if the answer is no, then you haven't made the decision. You have to make the decision.
Right.
Because if you don't make the decision, you'll just tippy-toe around things and you'll coast.
Yeah.
And you'll play with ideas and it'll become a hobby. Whereas I think if you want to really change something in your life, make the decision first and foremost that I'm sick and tired of this and I'm going to change it. And here's what I want to embrace. And get very, very clear on that. So first make the decision. Second, get clarity.
Right.
When you've made that decision, get clear on what is it I really want. And I think the more detail you can build around that, the better, because your mind works in words and images. So when you can impress an image on your mind, right, your subconscious mind starts to believe it. So that naturally manifests into your physical actions every day. Because 96%, this can't be disputed, this is science. Like this isn't just me saying, okay, I'm going to put a chocolate milk now. This is fact. You look at anyone, Tony Robbins, Brendan Burchard, Bob Proctor, Oprah Winfrey, 96% of your actions every single day are subconscious, they're automatic. You don't even think about it. Okay? Now for your actions to change, your mind needs to become familiar with this new identity, this new version of you. And that's one of the rules of the mind. There's 13 rules of your mind. And they'll work for you or against you. Okay, and one of them is that your mind loves what's familiar and hates what's unfamiliar. So most people, okay, they're familiar where they are in life right now.
Yeah.
Even if they don't like it, their mind says, at least you're safe here. At least you know what you have.
Yeah.
So when you start to change that, that starts to feel uncomfortable. So these questions of who am I? Who do I think I am to do a podcast? Okay, that's just the familiarity of your mind trying to pull you back.
Yeah.
So if you're clear, okay, no, I'm going to stick the course because here's what I want. Okay, that's going to give you the motivation to push and persevere and take those actions. Then you want to look at your obstacles. That's where I genuinely believe skilled professionals come in.
Okay.
Okay, my wife says it all the time. Everyone needs what we do. That's like her favorite line.
Yeah.
You know, she can speak to someone in a coffee shop and she's got this way, she's a very warm person, right? So she's got this way about her where people just open up. Because I could be queuing up for a coffee and the next thing she's having a heart-to-heart with some woman, you know?
Yeah.
And she'd come out and the first thing she'd say to me, she'd be like, it's a lovely conversation with a woman, you know? Everyone needs what we do. But it's true, because most of the time, to achieve what you want in life, it's not about, okay, what do I need to do more of? It's about what you need to let go of.
Yeah.
Because whenever you need to let go, it's already in you, you know? Like people would say to me, Martin, like, you know, where did you go to learn all the public speaking? Guys, I didn't. Yeah. Okay, but there's always been this confident version of me who could step on, like, I say it to people, if someone said to me, okay, Martin, listen, we've a company down the road there, some guy was supposed to come in, he was supposed to do a 3-hour workshop on mindset this afternoon, he's after letting us down, could you come and do it? I'd be like, yeah, just give me a chance to get a cup of coffee, and I'd be in. Yeah. I could do it off the cuff, okay? And it's not like I learned that, that's in everyone.
It just comes.
That's in every single person, but that comes down to letting go of that story or narrative that's holding you back. Because if you tell yourself you can do something, you can go and do it, you know?
Okay, yeah, brilliant. Okay, and let's straight back to the army, right? Anyone's thinking about joining the army, what advice would you give that young lad or woman before they go in for their first day, or before they even sign the dotted line or the application form to join? What advice would you give them?
Number one, I would say, get yourself in shape, ready for it. So you give yourself the best chance.
Yeah.
Because you want it to be an enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go in and it might not be a enjoyable experience. And the reason being, okay, what can hold people back is physicality, right? Yeah. Physically, they're not prepared for it. So every day they know they have this mountain to climb, whereas it should be enjoyable. Going out for a run, going to a circle class, climbing a mountain, they should be really enjoyable things for people that are looking to get into a military way of life. Just prepare yourself for it in advance. Okay, get into a gym, get your body healthy, look after yourself so that you're prepared to go and do those things, okay? Number two, okay, is get comfortable with the idea that you're very young and you're going to go through a lot of changes in life. Yeah. And the reason I say this, all right, I say it different the way we used to say it to guys in the army. I won't tell you what I used to say to them. But guys would come up to me when I was platoon sergeant after like 5 days and they'd be like, so sergeant, I want to leave. Okay, why do you want to leave? My girlfriend, you know, she's missing me, you know. I have a girlfriend back in Kilkenny, she's missing me, you know. I'm like, she's probably not going to be your girlfriend in 10 years. You do realise that, like, you know, she's probably going to be married. Yeah. She's probably going to have kids with some guy who drives a Porsche. Right? You don't need to let go of that idea. You're here, you're with me. That's what I used to say to them. But no, genuinely, these are reasons why people will leave. People will leave because, okay, I miss my mum, I miss my girlfriend, I miss my football team. And embrace life. You're going through a lot of change at a very, very young age, okay? Yeah. Don't commit to this safety and certainty and this identity that this is who I am and I can't change. But again, so much of that comes back to identity. That needs to be trained in the army. Yeah. Okay. A lot of the stuff that we do is not trained in the army. No. I spoke in an army event last week and I mentioned about vibration. I'm like, okay, guys, you are, believe it or not, okay, if you get up out of bed today and you're on SAD FM, but the goals you want to achieve are Unstoppable FM, it's like being on Lyric FM, and I say to you, what's on 2FM? You're going to say, I don't know, I'm listening to Lyric FM. It's the same thing. Yeah. You don't know what's Unstoppable FM if you're down here on SAD FM, so we have a vibrational state. I was explaining this to the guys. So many people come up to me and they're like, that was mind-blowing. That stuff is completely new to me. That should be trained in the army. I'm like, yeah, bring me in, I'll train you on it, you know? But it should be trained in the army. But it should be trained from a young age. That people need to embrace change and get used to change and getting comfortable with change, you know? Yeah. And because the army is great opportunities to travel, to expand yourself, to grow and develop as a person, to get into leadership roles, to travel overseas. But you have to be willing to embrace change, to enjoy all of that, you know? Yeah, and just kind of roll with it. Okay. Yeah. Grand. And then anyone that's coming out now, what advice would you give them, knowing what you know that's on the outside and taking that jump before the 21? The advice I give, you know what, I give this to every person. Yeah. Because even the world is going through so much change now with AI, okay? And it doesn't matter what industry you work in, have a skill. Okay, yeah. Have a skill that you can monetize. Have a skill where you can solve a problem for other people. And when you have that skill, we're like, okay, I can go, I can monetize this, I can charge some of this and they'll pay me to do that, okay? Then you can't be beaten. Okay. But if you're leaving and you're dependent on other people, right, then you're at the mercy of other people's decision making. You know, we spoke about, you're at the mercy of, you could have a guy coming out of the army and he's 46 years old and he's got a pension and he worked as a company sergeant. Yeah. And now he's going into this role where there's a 24-year-old is telling him what he doesn't like that. But guess what? Start liking it because you haven't developed a skill that you can monetize. Okay? And it's so important to have those skills. Now, the beautiful thing about the army is that, like, there's so much of what they teach you. The minute you go and you start to acquire skills, you'll say, okay, I'm already good at that. Yeah. Because you've developed the experience of doing a lot of what works really, really well in the big bad world, which is sales. You know, there's a lot of guys have come out of the army and have developed good lives for themselves because they're very, very, very good at sales, you know. Yeah. I had a conversation with a guy only a couple of years ago. He wanted me to come on board with his company because he's like, man, you know, he had a call with me about coming to our program. It was just natural conversation. But he's like, you are fucking good at sales, you know. And I said, would you love to come? He goes like, you know, you could make unbelievable living in sales. You know, if you're selling the right stuff, you can make an unbelievable living in sales, you know. Crazy, yeah, you know, it's like pharmaceutical, you can make a really, really good living, you know. But a lot of army guys can develop, they have a lot of those skills because they're used to dealing with people, they're used to helping people overcome problems, you know, so have a skill.
It was actually the army that where I kind of learned how to do my job.
Yeah.
I was in the ops office, I'd be ringing, booking everything.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how do I need to, I'll just ring someone. So now it's like, someone needs a job, I'll just ring the hiring manager and say, hey, I have X, Y, and Z. And
You become an organised person,
sales, So it's crazy, when you think about it. Grant, okay. And if someone wants to find you or get in your program, where can they find you? How can they contact you?
You can find us on all the usual social media platforms. So on LinkedIn, it's just Martin Brady. On Instagram and Facebook, it's Martin Brady _ mental performance.
Mental performance. And what's your website name?
Built to Lead Coaching.
Built to Lead Coaching.
Yeah, and you'll find us on front row speakers as well for any keynotes and stuff. You go through front row speakers. We do full leadership days as well with leadership teams. So we focus a lot on mindset, identity, attitude, and collaborating together as a team. And then we do individual keynotes around 6 key areas.
All right, brilliant. And then someone wants to buy your book, is it Amazon?
You can find the book on Amazon, So amazon.ie, amazon.co.uk for $13.99. Okay, and that's your one.
Thank you. Thanks very much. I'll have a read of it this evening. But thanks very much, Martin, for coming in. Great conversation.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. And like I said, you're a phenomenal podcaster. I've been on a lot of these over the years and just really good questions, really enjoyable conversation. So I hope people take value from it.
Good. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Connor. Thank you.
A huge thanks to Martin for sharing his journey, his mindset, and the lessons learned from life in the army and beyond. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to subscribe. You'll find all of Martin's links, his book, and his podcast in the show notes. And a special thanks to our sponsors, Top Drawer Talent, Nesta Storage, and IT.ie. This has been the 1040 podcast, and thanks for listening.